Our story begins in ancient Greece with a fierce baby. A fisherman named Spyros finds together with his deceased mother. She didn't survive the sea burial, but this little guy is very much alive. Spyros and his wife decide to adopt baby Perseus and raise him as their son. The boy sometimes wonders about his birth parents, but Spyros says this is his real family. Perseus grows up and becomes a fisherman too. Not like he had many other options anyway. Now the family is going through a tough time fish-wise, meaning they can't find any. Spyros is getting angry at the gods, while his wife says he should complain to the people who provoked them. She reminds him that the gods gave them life, and they should be thankful for that. But the old man finds it hard to express gratitude on an empty stomach. Near the Greek city of Argos, their boat is caught in a huge storm. Spyros is surprised to see the king's soldiers bringing down the statue of Zeus, which they're about to regret deeply. Dozens of winged demons come out of the water and attack the soldiers. The Harpies are followed by their master, Hades, who happens to be Zeus' brother and ruler of the underworld. As the angry god exterminates the naughty soldiers, his fury also sinks the fishing boat with the poor family. Perseus is the sole survivor. Up on the Olympus, the gods are really mad at us. Their immortality depends on prayers, and that's the only reason Zeus created humans in the first place. But his once loyal worshippers have been acting up lately. Times are hard for the gods, you see. Nobody wants to pray anymore. Taking advantage of the turmoil, Hades shows up uninvited. He says Zeus has always been too soft on these lazy mortals. Wanna see some prayers coming? That's easy. Put them in mortal danger. It always works. Apollo sounds concerned about this unorthodox method, but Zeus is fed up. He tells Hades he can do as he pleases with the humans. Suits them fine. Rescued by the only vessel that made it back, Perseus is taken to the palace. While the streets of Argos are full of hardship, the royal court is living in clover. King Perseus celebrates the destruction of the statue, making a toast to the era of man. His wife is also very pleased, but their daughter looks unhappy. The queen tells her to cheer up and join the party. Princess Andromeda says they should not be messing with the gods like that. Laughing at the naive girl, the queen says they are the gods now. That's when dark smoke begins to flood the room, forming a small tornado in the center. Several soldiers are sucked in, and the wind puts out the candles. The smoke then takes a human-like form. It's Hades. Gasps of horror are heard when he introduces himself, before telling the mortals they are defying powers they don't even understand. Now they will pay for their insolence. He makes the queen age into a decrepit old woman just by looking at her. And that's only a demonstration. The sun will be eclipsed in 10 days, and then he'll release the Kraken and vanquish the city completely. The only way they can avoid annihilation is by offering Princess Andromeda as a sacrifice. It's up to them now. He makes sure to clarify this is an order from Zeus, aka Perseus' father. At the Olympus, Zeus is being consulted on the same matter. As a demigod, Perseus could be spared from the awful fate of Argos. The gods could shelter him in case the apocalypse really happens. Zeus says he's never heard any prayers from his son, and that means he should share their fate. Now Perseus is being interrogated by the commanders Draco and Solon. Perseus comes to see him and begs him to save the princess, but he just doesn't know how. Perseus says he doesn't feel like a demigod. His real family was taken away from him, and all he wants is revenge. No one listens to him, and he gets locked up. A woman named Io comes to visit him in the dungeons. She is not exactly human anymore, but she's not a goddess either. After rejecting the advances of a god, Io has been cursed with eternal youth. Perseus points out that it sounds awesome. She reminds him of what it feels like to lose everyone you love. She also tells him more about his own past. Before Perseus, there was another king who decided to rise up against the gods. His name was Acrisius, and he led a siege on the Olympus. To teach him who's the boss, Zeus shape-shifted into him and had a fun evening with the queen. That was Perseus' mother. Although it should be a compliment that your wife can't tell you apart from a god, Acrisius didn't see it that way. As punishment, the queen was shut in a casket with her newborn baby and thrown in the sea. After that story, Io tells Perseus that he is meant to kill the Kraken. Only then he'll be able to defeat Hades and avenge his family. Then she goes to Draco and suggests consulting the Stygian witches. A bit surprised at her stupidity, he explains that no man can go to their place. Io explains she is not a man, but Draco is not in the mood for jokes. Funnily enough, next thing you know, everyone is getting ready to see the witches. But in Draco's defense, he clearly didn't steal Io's idea, as he's still saying it's a terrible one. He points out that Perseus is the only demigod in the group, so it's a bit convenient for him to suggest stuff like a journey to the deadly coven or fighting the Kraken. Perseus can't really remember asking for their help. Outside the palace, the peasants are eager to share how they feel about Princess Andromeda right now. While Draco and Solon keep them at bay, two volunteers step forward, Ozil and Kukuk. The general says that if they don't fear death, then they can join the warriors. One of them says death is the one that should be afraid. Okay then. Meanwhile, in the underworld, the monarch formerly known as Acrisius is still alive. He now goes by the name of Calibos. His face is kept hidden most of the time, courtesy of Zeus' aim with the lightning bolt. Hades comes in, overjoyed to share terrible news. The queen's illegitimate baby is still alive. She was executed for nothing. No need to despair, though. Hades is not actually helping his fellow gods, as suspected by everyone but Zeus. So he makes a deal with Calibos, promising to take down his mighty brother after Perseus is out of the picture. Then he breathes light into that ugly face, sharing some of his powers. Sadly, the face is still ugly as hell. Now the warriors are about 4 days away from their destination, and they stop for a moment to get some rest. One of them tries to commit some music, but Solon takes care of that. Draco tells Perseus to grab his weapon and follow him. Time for some training with the sword. Looking at a Perseus-shaped doll, Zeus begins to go soft and decides to buy his son's affection with gifts. First, he sends a sword that Perseus immediately regifts to Draco. The boy doesn't want to be a Nepo baby. He wants to do this as a man, not a demigod. But his tone changes when the next present comes. It's Pegasus. Well played, Zeus. What kid would say no to a pet? Especially a flying one that you can ride. While Io is telling Perseus about the horse, a horrid cry is heard in the woods. Calibos is attacking the group. There are several casualties, and now he's coming for the demigod. But Draco won't let him lay a hand on the boy, or keep his left hand for that matter. The fallen king looks puzzled at such audacity and runs. The soldiers go after him, not noticing the detached hand gaining a life of its own. By the time they reach Calibos, that hand has turned into a giant scorpion. Even Io joins the fight too, and they eventually kill the creature. But then, those two volunteers, Ozil and Kukuk, come running and shouting. That was not the only monster. Many others are coming, and they're even bigger. The soldiers are surrounded by the beasts when they hear some spooky chanting. It's a group of jinn, and they're not exactly friendly, but right now they're on the same side. Their chanting has a paralyzing effect on the scorpions. However, Perseus realizes he has been stung. Hades' venom begins to spread all over his body. Draco tells him to pray and Zeus will save him, but he's still too hung up on the daddy issues to do that. Back in Argos, things are getting ugly as well. Andromeda is giving some bread to the impoverished children of the city. Her companion urges her to keep a low profile, and for good reason. Everyone knows about Hades' ultimatum now, and that's not making the princess very popular. A man named Procopian has gone full Team Hades, and he's now talking to the crowd and inciting them to do the same. Solon is teaching a young soldier named Eusebius about the jinn. Having fought them in a previous war, he doesn't trust or like them very much. So when he sees their leader sneaking into Perseus' tent and pouring some weird blue flame over him, he's ready to defend the boy. Luckily, Io can speak jinn, and she translates their defense. They confess their dislike for humans, but they're willing to join forces against the gods. When Perseus comes out, they see that the funny skeleton is telling the truth. The blue flame had healed the boy. But Io is still worried about him and says they should wait until he's strong enough to travel. Draco not only ignores that but also assaults Perseus in anger. The boy's pride is getting people killed. He still refuses to take the sword and apparently managed to lose the winged horse. Perseus tries to explain why he's being so stubborn. The gods may be able to move mountains, but they won't lift a finger to end anyone's pain. And his biggest fear is to be like them. Draco remains totally unmoved and simply tells him where to find the sword whenever he decides to stop being such a baby. When the Jinn come riding the mega scorpions, Ozil and Kukuk are happy to hop on. Solon is shocked at the possibility, considering they have just escaped those claws. But now they have to make up for the lost time. So Draco tells him to loosen up and embrace change. They might be ancient Greeks, but they're not dinosaurs. So they all get on the scorpion caravan and resume their journey. Moving much faster now, they soon reach the Garden of Stygia. Io advises Perseus to ask only what he needs to know and nothing more. But when they get to the witches, these ladies are a piece of work. As expected, they talk in riddles and beat around the bush before providing anything useful. Eventually, they reveal that eye contact with Medusa is the only way to kill the Kraken. Whoever looks at Medusa is instantly turned into stone. Happy with the information, Perseus is about to leave when they ask if he doesn't want to know a little more. Io says, "No thank you." But the witches just go ahead and tell them anyway. The warriors are destined to beat Hades, but they will perish in the process. After getting the worst fortune cookie ever, they see the Jinn are leaving. They believe the prophecy, so it's kind of pointless to team up with this doomed bunch. Ouch. But while some depart, others decide to finally show up. Zeus makes himself flesh and bone to visit his son in person. He tells Perseus he can crash at the Olympus for Armageddon if he wants to. The boy firmly refuses the offer, taking the opportunity to say Spyros was a better father than any god will ever be. For a touchy god, Zeus takes that pretty well, and even gives him a drachma with a cryptic comment about expensive fares. Ozil gives Perseus a shield that Kukuk made from the scorpions. It's a farewell present though. These two are a brave pair, but they've had enough. So now it's just the two commanders, two of the younger soldiers, Io and Perseus himself, plus one of the Jinn who must have missed the last scorpion home. Now their next stop is the underworld, but the only way to get there is Charon's ferry. That's what the drachma was for, the traditional bribe for the ferryman. Sailing to Medusa's home, Io says she'll have to sit this one out. Women are not allowed there. Men are mostly welcome, but none has ever made it back out. What a nice moment to share that. Anyway, Charon has a no-refund policy, so there's no turning back now. The group enters Medusa's lair. Solon points out, it's a bit discouraging to see so many statues there, some in the exact position they're taking. Sadly, he turns out to be the first victim, just before Draco is hit by an arrow. All they can see at first is her long tail, but she soon makes an appearance. Failing to look away fast enough, Eusebius and his friend become part of the decoration. Now Perseus's only functioning ally is the skeleton, which is not that bad actually. Her gaze doesn't work on the Jinn, and that's enough of a setback to give Perseus an advantage. Medusa's reflection on the scorpion shield shows him exactly where her neck is. That's the perfect chance to use his brand new sword. Perseus leaves that place with the precious head in a bag, but he has lost almost everyone. At least he has Io to keep him company. Oh wait, yeah, never mind that. Calibos is there to make sure not even Io survives. Filled with anger, Perseus defeats him in combat and watches as he turns back into his human form. The sky is getting dark as the eclipse begins. Hades' deadline is approaching, while Perseus rushes to help Io. She urges him to hurry up, but he's one clingy bastard. When she turns into golden dust, he finally snaps out of it. But how is he gonna make it to Argos in time? Fear not, little demigod. Pegasus is here to take you there. As soon as the sun is covered, Hades shows off his British punctuality before Britain even exists. He's dying to see his favorite pet raising hell in Argos. Zeus is not backing down either, kicking out the rest of the gods. He gives the order to release the Kraken. Let's have a look at the city then. It's complete chaos. Procopian is stirring up the revolution and reminding everyone incessantly that it's a simple choice between one princess or all the people they've ever known. The angry mob is right outside the palace, and their cries take guilt-tripping to a new level. Princess Andromeda succumbs to the pressure and sheepishly walks out of the palace. Procopian wastes no time and grabs her, while King Cepheus is running in the streets and frantically calling her name. Andromeda is suspended like a pretty carrot to the Kraken. But it's too late now. The creature itself didn't make any deals. All it knows is pure destruction. Zeus is very disappointed. Surprisingly, nobody stopped running for their lives to say a little prayer. Zeus is getting even weaker than before. And guess who's getting stronger? Hades, of course. The one who feeds on fear. Zeus finally realizes his divine stupidity, but it doesn't prevent him from using it. Claiming to have faith in his son, he lets Hades know that the demigod has survived. So when Perseus flies Pegasus to Argon, Hades is there with his harpies. The whole city is falling apart, and the Kraken hasn't even emerged completely. When it finally comes out to say hi, we see he might be Godzilla's grandpa. Same posture, same roar, same social skills. Andromeda is still in one piece, by the way. When the Kraken finally notices the treat, Perseus grabs Medusa's head from the bag and points it at the monster, turning it into stone. Thankfully, the thing breaks into giant pieces and spares the city from a colossal reminder of the worst day ever. Hades still tries the god card on Perseus, but he casts him back into the underworld with his dad's sword. Once it's all over, Andromeda offers the throne of Argos to Perseus, but he is not interested. He wants to be a fisherman and be left alone. His father comes to say he'll respect that choice. As a final present, he brings Io back to life. Maybe that will squeeze a prayer out of the little brat. And this is the end. This was a recap of the 2010 movie Clash of the Titans by Legendary Pictures, starring Sam Worthington and Gemma Arterton. So, which character is the most relatable? Would you turn down a chance to become a god, like Perseus did? Let us know in the comments below with #CinemaRecap. Until next time.